I'm digging it. You cool with it?
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right, brother. Feel free to drink them if you got them. I got some nice H2O here, so whatever you want during the conversation. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
pretty chill, but we're gonna have a great conversation. Mm. I'll kick it off, and then we'll jump into it. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dan Smith, brother, finally on the show, man.
Yes, I'm excited.
I cannot wait for this conversation, man. Everything that you preach and teach, and everything that you've lived, everything that you embody, that I found on social media. I found you on Instagram, and somehow we just started connecting, and I started seeing your message, and I love what you're all about, man. So I wanted to connect with you and pick your brain a little bit and talk about your expertise, man.
Sounds good, brother. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So tell the world a little bit about you and who you are, what you do, and how you got here to today.
Yeah. Wow, that's a big question. So, you know, the key words you said, right, is embodiment. If you look at my snapshot on my Instagram, it's going to say that I'm a relationship coach. At the end of that, it says starting by the relationship with yourself, and that's the key. That's the embodiment piece. It's I asked myself. I see you got the t-shirt on. I asked myself during a recent ceremony, how do you see yourself? How do you want to see yourself? And what would that look like? And I think we're constantly on that never-ending journey that is a lot more intentional for me. But it started 13 years ago when I first kind of woke up to the world outside of my own mind. And I didn't really understand anything that we're about to talk about, but I knew that I was suffering. And so I've been on that journey for about 13 years now of what's out there? What don't I understand about this world? What don't I understand about myself? And then going on that journey of self-discovery and ultimately learning about who I want to be and how I want to experience this reality. And then how do I become the man that lives in that experience? Make sense?
Yo, yeah, yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, brother, and we get some time to do it. So, what led you to that point 13 years ago? So there's a shift, there's a change, and probably at a base level, at a core level of who you are. What were you before that, and what caused the shift?
Um, Answer to the second question is pain. Pain and suffering. Who was I before that? I was very wounded, and I was just a conditioned bundle of reaction. Right, I reacted to the world around me. Grew up in a very challenging, chaotic environment, and I grew up. I was carrying a lot of trauma. I didn't realize that until, really probably like 10 years into my journey, like maybe like 4 years ago, I started to realize that a lot of the challenges and stuff that I've been working through was traumatic experiences in childhood. And so up until that point, without, like, I wasn't present at all. Like it gets thrown around social media, like live in the moment. And I'm not sure how many people actually understand what that really means. But I was forced into the moment through pain. Like there's a book, The Power of Now.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't read it for 2 years, but it's always around me. I don't just leave it there so I can throw it up on a podcast. It's just I do it unconsciously, I think, talking about conscious presence. It changed my life because I started reading that book and I woke up for the first time. And only when I was aware, consciously aware, could I really become aware of my patterns. And before that, everything was just automatic reaction to something happens or someone says something to me, and it's just reaction. Not always bad reaction, but it was always unconscious reaction. But there was plenty of bad reaction. And so I never wanted to be home because of the chaos in my household. When I was at school, I was in fights every day. I was in detention every day. There was a number of years where I was just on permanent detention to stop me from fighting. Kids would pick on me because they knew that they'd get a reaction. Not very smart, because they also got punched in the face, but they got a reaction. And then, you know, as life went on, I realized I couldn't keep living that way. And I think what really hit me the most is when I started having intimate romantic relationships, which is, we'll talk more about, of course, because I think everyone watching this can probably somewhat agree, unless, you know, there's some people been through some really bad shit, but an intimate relationship has the ability to really bring up our stuff more than if we're just hanging out with the boys or, you know, a family dinner.
Sacred mirrors, man.
Exactly. And so I think that was, I can look back, and that's a big part of, and we'll get into why I do specifically what I do now, because I can look back and see milestones